Mr. Andrews?
Yes?
I received the letter from your editor, Mr. Andrews, and we'll be delighted to give you all the cooperation we can. Our files are at your disposal. They contain all the statistics and records of the O'Hara family.
Well, thank you, Mr. Nolan. But unfortunately, statistics don't make the most exciting reading in the world.
What did you have in mind?
Oh, I'll use the files, of course, but first I'd like to get some personal background from people who really knew them. The old-timers in town.
That's going to be something of a problem.
Well, there must be some around.
Surely. But they don't like strangers, and they won't talk to them.
Well, I've run into that before. Where can I find them?
Over in the old part of town.
Any particular place?
Inside the Palace Bar when they have the money. Outside when they don't.
In that case, I'm on my way to the Palace Bar. Good morning, gentlemen. I'm in town for a few days trying to get some information on the O'Hara family. I'm going to do an article. Oh, I see. Are any of you gentlemen interested in making a little money? Oh, I'm sorry to hear you say that. All right, I'll tell you what. I'm going in and have a drink. I'm going to order 3 more and line them up on the bar. If any of you gentlemen change your mind, remember, I'm on an expense account.
I was weaned off little drinks like that before I was 10, mister.
Well, there's plenty more where that came from.
So you want to hear about the O'Haras?
That's right.
Well, it's a long story, mister, and sometimes a man can get mighty dry a telling it.
Better bring a bottle over to the table, please.
Yes, sir. Say when.
That'll do. Never even touched my throat. The O'Haras, you say? I knew 'em like I knew the underwear I wore for 30 years. Sweeten us up a little, will you, Buster? Fine family. There wouldn't have been no Arizona if it hadn't been for the O'Haras. And the way them 2 O'Hara cousins hated each other, there wouldn't have been enough O'Haras left today to fill a phone booth if it hadn't been for that gal.
What gal?
I remember it like yesterday. The first time she come to town, the old general brought her in to open a new opera house he just built. In them days, you was either a Grant O'Hara man or a Lee O'Hara man. I was a Lee O'Hara man. And I was with him when he come to town to meet the stage that day. She was an awful pretty gal. But she hadn't weathered the trip too well. She was sort of delicate and fragile-like.
I think she's fainting.
Lee, you can't go in there.
Can I?
You know you can't, not alone.
I'm not alone. She's with me.
Grant.
What are you doing here?
The girl's sick. She fainted outside.
This is my side of the town, and I told you to stay out of it.
You talk so much I can't remember half of what you say. Where can I put her?
Back in the streets for all I care. Who is she?
The singer the general brought in for the opera house?
Put her in the room upstairs. And then get out of here.
Quit talking so big and so tough. Send a woman up to help me.
Go on upstairs.
Since when are you taking orders from him?
The general brought her here. Get going. You too, Mac.
Just relax, miss. You'll be all right in a minute.
What's the matter with her?
How do I know? Come on, do something for her.
How about little Jolt, honey?
Don't feed it to her. Put it on her temples. Don't you know how to handle a lady?
I've handled myself for 22 years, and I drink the stuff. I don't wash my face in it.
Put it on her temples. Just rest, Miss Marlowe. Don't try to talk. I'll send out to the ranch for a carriage.
Thank you.
You. Stay here with her until I get back.
I don't take orders from you. I get my pay from Grant O'Hara.
I'm not blind. I can recognize his brand. But you better be here with her when I get back.
Yes, Mr. O'Hara. O'Hara?
Lee O'Hara, miss. It was my grandfather who brought you from New York. I'll be back to pick you up about 5 o'clock. You just rest. We'll drive out in the cool of the evening. I'll be back to pick her up at 5 o'clock.
I'd send somebody else if I were you.
Not if you were me, you wouldn't.
Catch me in.
Where are you going?
I don't know, but I am to be 20 miles away from here by 5 o'clock.
Never figured to go in there and come out alive.
I never figured to go in there and come out leaving Grant alive. Take Miss Marlowe's bags out to the ranch and bring back a carriage.
Do we have to go back in there and get her?
Are you on his side or mine?
Yours, Lee, you know that.
All right, get going.
Hello, Lee.
You gonna be long?
Take my place, Lee. I have no hurry.
Thanks, Jack.
How are things?
They're getting interesting. I want a haircut and anything else you can think of.
Sure thing, Lee.
You sure this is what they're wearing back east?
The very latest thing, Mr. O'Hara.
Aren't these sleeves kind of short?
Only at the bottom.
Have this out at the ranch by 7 o'clock tonight.
Well, it doesn't give us very much time.
7 o'clock.
It'll be there.
Fine. Who told you to bring them?
I thought there might be trouble.
You're really turning into an old lady. Come on. I won't need you boys. Wait out here. Where's Grant?
He had to go out for a few minutes.
Well, tell him I took the girl with me.
Sure, sure.
This is sure one fine mess.
Yeah. You reckon this might be the showdown?
Might. Ain't good. Lee disobeying the old general and poking into Grant's side of town.
Never figured either one of them would call the turn while the old general's still alive.
Yeah, and with Lee doing the calling, never figured it'd be on account of a female.
What's the difference? The old general can't live forever, no matter how he tries. Shooting's bound to come. If it ain't today, it'll happen tomorrow. Can't be much worse than waiting for it.
You think we picked the right side?
You put it just right. I think we picked the right side.
Here they come.
I never would have believed it.
Believe what, miss?
All this land. For days on the stagecoach, we've been riding through it. Some man told me it all belonged to the O'Haras.
This your first trip west?
Yes?
How do you like it?
It's too big to like. I think you'd either have to love it or hate it.
You know, it takes most people a lot longer to figure that out. How is it with you?
Love at first sight.
You know, I'm looking forward to hearing you sing, Miss Marlowe.
I'm a little nervous. I've never been paid quite so much before. $10,000 for one performance.
Judging from the way you took the trip, I'd say it wasn't enough.
Well, a few days of this air and I'll be fine.
A few years of it and you'd be a lot better.
Yes, I imagine I would.
You can get a good look at the ranch house from here. Hey, pull up a minute, Ted.
If you only knew how many people told me I'd be staying in a mud hut if I came west.
Well, we're building a bigger place about 2 miles up the creek.
Oh, no, you don't understand. What I meant was...
This place is kind of dinky.
I think it's the most beautiful thing I've ever seen.
New one will have bigger rooms and a lot more of them. Let's get going, Ted.
Yeah. Well, it was a sort of funny thing. She was the only Easterner I ever seen who loved the West just like she was born in it. Right from the start. It was funny because, as I said, she was so delicate and fragile-like.
Hold it. Are you just lying on purpose, or has your mind gone so bad you can't remember what she was really like?
That's the way she was.
He want nothing like that.
Now, just a minute, gentlemen. Maybe you'd like to tell your version.
I sure would.
All right. Give us another bottle, please.
She want nothing like he said. At that time, I was tending bar right here at the palace. Them was the days before they started watering the drinks. When the stagecoach come in that day, I went out to watch it. I always liked to watch the stagecoach come in. The stagecoach office was on Grant O'Hara's side of the town, but he was nice about letting the Lee O'Hara men come over to meet it, as long as they went back on their own side when they finished. You say she was delicate and fragile. She wasn't nothing of the sort. That gal had one of the worst hangovers I ever seen.
I think she's great.
The thing nobody knows but me is what happened during the 4 hours Lee was gone and she stayed in the saloon.
Lee O'Hara, miss. It was my grandfather who brought you from New York. I'll be back to pick you up about 5 o'clock. You just rest. We'll drive out in the cool of the evening.
Thanks. You've been drinking this stuff. I don't know how you got to be 22 years old.
I was weaned on it.
Who's that rude man downstairs in the ice cream suit?
That's Grant O'Hara, miss.
O'Hara? Brothers?
No, cousins.
Well, the one downstairs should learn some manners. Maybe you'd like to teach him some. Maybe I would. And stop winking at each other behind my back. I'm going down and give Ice Cream Suit a lesson on how to treat a lady.
You may be in for a couple of surprises.
What would you know about surprises? You never give anybody one in that getup.
That gal's walking herself into a mess of trouble. Grant'll throw her out on her ladylike ear.
I hope so. Because if she's still here when Lee comes back, we'll all be in a mess of trouble.
well in a hurry.
No thanks to you. Throw her back in the street for all I care.
Nobody ever died of a hangover. Put out the fire. Come on.
How dare you? How dare you?
She's still upset. You better get another drink. Sit down, Miss,
I'm Lillian Marlowe.
Yeah, I figured as much.
I'm a singer.
Well, that remains to be seen.
Your grandfather's not so skeptical. He's paying me $10,000 for one performance.
$10,000 doesn't mean anything to him. And he wouldn't know a song from a train whistle.
Are all the men around here as charming as you?
No, I'm afraid not. Some of them get downright rude at times.
The women must lead a lovely life.
As long as they do as they're told, they don't get hurt.
Yours, I take it, does as she's told.
Most of them.
Here's your drink.
You put your brand on everything, Mr. O'Hara?
That's not a brand, ma'am. It's just my way of protecting the ladies against strangers.
That's a very interesting explanation.
Yes, isn't it? If you should ever feel the need of my protection, Miss Marlowe.
I'm quite capable of taking care of myself, Mr. O'Hara.
Well, that's always the first time.
Not necessarily.
Like Killarney's lakes and fells, emerald isles and winding bays,
Good, isn't she?
mountain paths and woodland depths.
In case you didn't get it, miss, the name's O'Hara, and I like Irish songs.
It's not the song. It's what's being done to it. Which member of your family did you say couldn't tell a song from a train whistle?
You mean she isn't good?
Well, she has nice volume.
Is that all?
In this case, I'd say it was too much.
Nancy.
What's the matter?
I just found out you're terrible.
Who said so?
Have you met Miss Marlowe?
Sure, I met her. What are you trying to do? I didn't say a word.
Miss Marlowe is an opera star, and your singing offends her. She doesn't offend easy.
And what's the matter with my singing?
It's terrible.
You always liked it before.
I never listened to it before.
I've got a good mind to... If you think
Sit down.
I'd like to see you keep this crowd quiet with one of your numbers. That's too easy. I'll do it with one of yours. Am I supposed to just sit here and listen?
Yeah. Tell Mac I want it.
And play it in F.
Killarney's lakes and fells, where the strong of Ireland grow, where the peaceful spirit dwells, there's an Irish lad I know. Clancy was a peaceful man, if you know what I mean. The cops picked up the pieces after Clancy left the scene. He never looked for trouble, that's a fact you can't assume. But nevertheless, when trouble would press, Clancy lower the boom. Oh, that Clancy, oh, that Clancy. Whenever they'd get his Irish up, Clancy lower the boom, 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 boom. He's always reaching for a drink of whiskey, wine, or beer. It doesn't matter which is which, as long as one is near. Somebody tried to tell him that to drink would be his doom. When out of the blue, what did he do? Clancy lowered the boom. Oh, that Clancy, oh, that Clancy. Whenever they get his Irish up, Clancy lower the boom, 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 boom. He got himself into a fight and someone blacked his eye. But you should come along with me and see the other guy. When everybody stepped aside to give him lots of room, I'm willing to bet you'll never forget how Clancy lowered the boom. Oh, the Clancy! Oh, the Clancy! Whenever they'd get his Irish up, a Clancy'd lower the boom, 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 boom. They brought him home one morning, it was 15 after 4. His wife was there a-waiting and she met him at the door. She must have lost her temper when she saw his nose in bloom. But what do you think, as quick as a wink, Clancy lowered the boom. No matter who got his Irish up, a Clancy lowered the boom.
On my mother's side, the name is Muldoon.
Not bad. Not bad at all. You might do all right out here, Miss Marlowe.
I suppose that's riotous applause coming from you.
Come on. I've ordered dinner for us.
You, ordered dinner?
Yes.
You really amaze me, Mr. O'Hara. That's the loveliest silver I've ever seen. You must have sent east for it.
Why should we send east? We've got 3 mountains of the stuff right around the corner.
Who has 3 mountains of it?
The O'Haras.
How many O'Haras are there?
1 too many. How do you like the West?
Better and better.
Anything you don't like, just let me know.
You talk like you owned the town.
That's right. I don't want to be disturbed. If Lee comes back, just throw him out.
Yes, sir.
They've been in there for 3 hours. And Lee's due here in 20 minutes.
Think he'll show?
He'll show. And I'm supposed to throw him out. Me. I'm supposed to throw him out.
It's trouble enough already. Now there's got to be a girl, a pretty girl.
And both of them have got to see her. If only we could get Grant out of here.
I don't think he'd appreciate that.
I'm not thinking about him. I'm thinking about us.
Wonder if we picked the right side.
Now's a fine time to wonder about it.
You think of a better time? What are we going to do?
Just what we always do. Try to figure out some way to stay alive.
You could add a lot of color to the country if you decided to stay around, Miss Marlowe.
And what could the country do for me?
Whatever you wanted to.
That's a big order. I might be very ambitious.
Well, that makes it simple. You own the ambition, I own the country. The situation has possibilities.
Now, shall we talk about my concert tomorrow night? You'll be there, of course.
Let's not change the subject.
Then let's not get that look in your eye. I don't like it.
You might, after you get to know it better.
You don't underestimate yourself, Mr. O'Hara. What makes you think I'll want to get to know it better?
I don't underestimate you, Miss Marlowe.
Sorry, Grant, you can't knock on those curtains.
What do you want?
Potkins is here for the payroll.
All right. Will you excuse me, Miss Marlowe?
Of course.
Miss,
Yes?
you have to get Grant out of here before Lee comes back.
What are you talking about?
Believe me, ma'am, unless you're fond of seeing dead bodies all over the place, find some excuse to get Grant out of here.
Are you serious?
Yeah, and I'm scared, too.
Why should they?
They don't get along very well. Just take my word for it.
One more interruption, I'm going to break somebody's neck.
Yes, sir.
Anything the matter?
Why don't you and your cousin get along?
Don't ever mention him around me again. Understand?
Of course. Sorry. Here. Let me.
He jumped and she hopped. How in blazes? Mac!
I'm terribly sorry.
That's quite all right, Miss Marlowe. Mac!
I don't know how I could have been so clumsy.
That's quite all right, Miss Marlowe. Mac, get me another suit. Would you mind waiting upstairs after I change? I'll get a carriage and take you out to the ranch.
Of course.
Oh.
Good work, miss.
Now what?
I'll stall getting his suit. You hurry and get back upstairs in bed. Where's Grant?
He had to go out for a few minutes.
Well, tell him I took the girl with me.
Oh, sure.
And that was when they drove up to the ranch. That was the way it was, mister, and I'll stake my reputation on it.
That ain't very good security.
She was delicate. She was drunk.
She wasn't neither one.
What do you know about
Yeah.
And you fellas seem to forget. I was ranch foreman for the Harris at the time. I'd been over to Albuquerque on a little trip and was on the way back. Come in on the same stage with the girl. She wasn't sick, and she wasn't drunk. That girl just plain and simple admired money more than any other girl I've ever seen.
Mr. Hawley, do you mean to tell me that all this land belongs to one family?
The O'Haras, ma'am.
And all those cattle?
That's right.
What is beef selling for now?
Beef? About 10 cents a pound.
You say they own some mines, too.
They own the whole country, ma'am.
What kind of mine?
Gold, silver, lead.
What is gold selling for now?
A small break of it's worth about $5,000.
Well, now, isn't that interesting?
That's Lee O'Hara, ma'am.
Oh? Let me get out first.
Well, I went on out the ranch, so I don't know what happened in town. But I do know that the old general gave the girl a reception that night because I was there.
Good evening, gentlemen.
Good evening, Captain. How are you? Nice to see you, Jane. Well, hello, Peggy. I'm glad you could come.
Good evening, sir.
John, how are you?
Fine, thank you, sir.
Good evening, Lee.
Good evening, sir.
Fine. So glad you could come, my dear. How are you, Cynthia?
Such a lovely party.
Good evening, General.
Oh, nice to see you.
Thank you, sir.
Good evening, Mrs. Logan.
Good evening, General.
Colonel, how are you?
Fine, General.
Who is that girl with Lee? I don't think I've seen her before.
Well, that's Miss Marlowe, General.
Oh, the opera singer, sir.
Opera singer?
Yes, sir.
That's impossible. That girl couldn't be an opera singer. They're always begging your pardon.
Accepted.
You sure?
Positive, sir.
You don't suppose she could be an imposter?
I don't think it very likely, sir.
What's she doing with Lee?
I couldn't tell you, sir.
I think she's very attractive.
I'm afraid she is. I only hope Grant hasn't seen her.
Good evening, Grant.
After that, there wasn't any trouble.
You'll find that when I say wait, I mean exactly that.
Will you see something happen?
I think you better take your hands off this young lady.
Best advice I can give to you right now is to shut up.
You better stop giving advice and start taking your hands off
Now,
her.
look, gentlemen, I'm sure if we just...
I understand you came back to my place again today.
I told you I would. Where were you? Hiding?
Gentlemen, I think if we all went over to the punch bowl together.
You wouldn't like to repeat your little visit tomorrow, would you?
You give me the right kind of an invitation, I'll be there.
Or maybe you'd rather not wait till tomorrow.
I always was a little bored with waiting.
Why don't you remember what I told you? Take their guns first and then grab their arms. One of these days, they'll beat you to it. Good evening, Grant.
Good evening, sir.
We're having a little party, and I want you to behave yourself. I said I want you to behave yourself.
Yes, sir.
Well?
Yes, sir.
Let him go. Miss Marlowe, I'd like to see you in my study for a few moments, if you don't mind. Will all of you please go into dinner? I'll join you in a few minutes.
Yes, General O'Hara?
Come in, Miss Marlowe. Sit down, please. And you're an opera singer.
I believe that's what you sent for, General.
Well, you're not exactly what I had in mind.
Well, I'm sorry.
I didn't mean that as it sounded.
I should hope not.
When will you be ready to leave?
I beg your pardon.
It must be perfectly clear to you that it's absolutely impossible for us to have you around.
But I was under the impression that you brought me from New York, General.
Well, as I said before, you're not exactly what I had in mind.
Well, where I come from, a contract is a contract.
I'm not talking about the contract. You'll get your money all right. When will you be ready to leave?
Well, I just got here.
Miss Marlowe, you saw what almost happened just now.
What's the matter with those two?
They don't like each other.
Why not?
They don't need any reason. They're O'Haras.
What kind of an explanation is that?
That's all the explanation they seem to feel they need. They claim it's a family trait.
Is it?
Certainly not. My brother and I had a legitimate excuse for fighting. Back in Ireland, we couldn't see eye to eye on the English. My two sons had a legitimate reason for fighting. They couldn't see eye to eye on the issues of the war between the states. So one fought for the North and one fought for the South. But somehow my two grandsons, ever since they were 7, seem to feel that where there are two O'Haras, there's reason enough for one not to like the other.
That's the silliest thing I've ever heard.
Well, now that you understand the situation, will you go home?
But what does all this have to do with me?
It certainly must have come to your attention that they are both more than a little interested in you.
Of course it has. And now you want me to go home. That's the silliest thing I've ever heard.
That expression is beginning to wear a little thin.
Two good-looking, wealthy young men show me some interest. You may not know it, General, but girls dream about things like that.
I've never been particularly interested in what girls dream about.
Well, that's what it is.
Would you like to know what I dream about? Fighting in the streets, the whole territory in a turmoil. Brother against brother, friend against friend.
Why should the whole territory be in a turmoil?
Everyone knows that when I die, the two boys will have it out. And in the end, one of them will have everything. The whole territory is split right down the middle, trying to figure out which one.
It's an interesting situation.
I'm glad you're not bored. The whole country, all my holdings, apt to blow up at any minute, and you find it interesting.
Well, you needn't get so angry.
I'm sorry. Miss Marlowe, I'll help you pack. I'll charter a special stagecoach and get you out of here tonight. I'll give you $10,000 and you won't have to sing a note. Well?
General O'Hara, all that money you're offering me would ordinarily have turned my head. But something happened to me today. I met a man who's everything I've ever dreamed about. He's strong and decent, and as it so happens, he's wealthy. Although in this case, that doesn't make any difference.
Miss Marlowe, I'm ordering you.
You'll find out, General, that you can't order love around.
Love? Why, you've only been here 8 hours.
When you see something you want, you don't need much time.
Which one is it?
Well, that's just it. I can't make up my mind.
You can't make up your mind?
But I'm going to give it a lot of thought. We'll get this thing settled as soon as possible. Is that all, General?
It's too much. Colonel Logan. Colonel Logan.
Well, we're honored, Miss Marlowe. We've been waiting a long time for your arrival. You'd like to trade with me, Lee?
Yeah, I would.
Well, I think there's probably been some mistake in the seating arrangement.
Yes, I think there probably has.
It's a lovely party, isn't it?
I'm not too crazy about some of the guests.
Oh, I think everyone's very charming.
You won't, after you get to know some of them better.
You know something? I'll bet that secretly you two are really very fond of each other.
Miss Marlowe, you're much too pretty to be making idiotic remarks like that.
I'm forced to agree with him.
Could I have the salt, please? All it really needs is some pepper.
Good night, General.
Good night.
Thank you for a lovely evening.
Delighted to have you.
I can't tell you how much we look forward to these get-togethers.
That's nice to know.
Good night, sir.
Good night.
Good night.
But I don't understand, Luther.
Nothing to be alarmed about, my dear. Something's come up, and I'm going to spend the night here.
I'll have him home in the morning, ma'am. One of the men will drive you.
Thank you, General.
Good night, my dear.
Good night.
Where are they?
Out in the patio.
It's so quiet here. I bet you could hear a sound for 10 miles.
You want some noise?
No, I'm enjoying it. You see, I've lived in the city all my life, and it's just wonderful to sit around and not hear anything.
Miss Marlowe.
Yes?
Miss Marlowe, there are several things I'd like to talk to you about. Ordinarily, I'd wait a little longer to mention them, but under the circumstances, I'd like to see you alone for a few minutes.
Of course. Will you excuse us?
No, I won't. You see, there are certain things I want to talk to you about myself.
Would you excuse us for a few minutes?
No.
Well, it looks like we're not going to get anywhere.
Certain people around here should begin to learn when they're not wanted.
Isn't that funny? I was beginning to feel a little bit crowded myself.
Look, would you two do me a favor? When you're around me, would you mind not wearing your guns?
Well, I'd sooner be caught without my pants.
What's your language?
I don't need you to teach me manners.
You need somebody.
Oh, that's all right. I wasn't offended, really, I wasn't.
I'm offended for you.
He's sort of delicate. I'll have to apologize for him.
Enjoying the moonlight, boys?
General O'Hara, wasn't it a lovely party?
Lovely, miss. May I see you to your room?
You certainly may. It's been quite a day. Good night, gentlemen.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night, boys. I may be mistaken, but I thought you seemed rather glad to see me out here.
Are you the only one who can handle them?
The only one. I should have been dead years ago, but something's always coming up between those two. I just can't afford the luxury of dying.
You should have been a little more strict with them.
I've been everything with them. I've yelled at them, I've threatened them, I've reasoned with them, I've even...
Them?
Well, that didn't do any good either, because I had to beg them to take over the whole works in the first place.
They didn't want your money?
Not jointly. You see, Miss Marlowe, I've been hanging on in the hope that something would bring them together.
Isn't it possible that I might be able to do that?
No, somehow I don't think it'll work out that way.
You still think I should leave?
No, that wouldn't do any good now. They'd just follow you.
What do you suggest I do?
Hope for the best, expect the worst, and settle for anything in between. Come in.
Everything is ready, sir.
Fine. Well, we'll all live through the night anyway. Tomorrow's another day. Good night, Miss Marlowe.
Good night, General.
I can't say that I blame the boys, but somehow I wish I'd sent for a baritone. Don't hesitate to shoot at the slightest sound.
Yes, sir.
What's the idea of them?
I just wanted to make sure that you boys got plenty of sleep tonight. Good night, Colonel.
Good night, sir.
Oh, yes. There are 2 troops of these fellas camped just down the road. And by the way, Colonel Logan and I have just declared the entire territory under martial law.
Things must be in a bad way up at the ranch, huh?
It's that girl. I knew the minute Lee carried her in, our mistress was over.
We ought to ride her out of town on a rail.
You want to appoint yourself on a committee to do it?
Well, somebody ought to do it.
Yeah, but not you.
Look at it this way. You're a Lee O'Hara man, I'm a Grant O'Hara man. I don't hate you, and you don't hate me. Our wives are sisters. But all of a sudden, we find ourselves out in the street blowing each other's brains out. For what?
Because we want to stay in O'Hara territory, that's for what. We got more and live better here than anybody else in the West.
Yeah, I'll grant you that, but I want to keep on living and enjoying it.
The old general will handle that.
Yeah, the old general can handle it. Why'd he have to call out the troops?
I hope I didn't scare you.
You got anything on your mind?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, I have. I just wanted to make it clear that my intentions towards Miss Marlowe are of a serious nature.
To you or to her?
I'm telling you the way I feel.
Well, I'm not much interested in that. The reason I'm not much interested is because I got a few intentions of my own.
Well, that makes for an interesting situation.
Yeah, doesn't it?
Going to the Opera House tonight?
Figured I would. You going?
Yeah, I'll be there. Maybe we'll run into each other.
Yeah, would be a bit surprised.
It's all right. They're just shooting up the desert. But keep an eye on them. They're up to something, and I know it.
Good afternoon, General.
Good afternoon, Miss Marlowe.
I thought I heard some shooting a few minutes ago.
Nothing of any importance, miss. Oh, the orchestra's arrived from San Francisco. Hawley will drive you to town for a rehearsal. You can leave any time now.
Well, thank you. How are your grandsons today?
Still alive, both of them.
General O'Hara, I've been doing some thinking about this whole thing.
That's very encouraging, miss.
And I've decided that if anybody's going to be able to control this situation, it should be me.
I shall be interested to hear how.
Well, let's go on the assumption that both of the gentlemen in question find me, shall we say, desirable.
I think that assumption is a safe one.
Well, now, this attitude on their part puts me in a certain position of advantage.
How?
I'm a woman.
Well?
Well, it's a somewhat unfair advantage, I'll admit. But there you have it.
I still don't know what you're talking about.
It's simple, General. A man in love is always forced to play the game according to the rules laid down by the woman in question.
I've been in love 1,000 times, and I've never had any rules laid down. I would have spanked them good if they'd even suggested such a thing.
Perhaps you weren't aware of what was going on.
I knew perfectly well what was going on.
At any rate, General, I've decided to tell both of them that either they conduct themselves like grown men, or I'll refuse to consider them as eligible suitors.
You refuse to consider them? Miss Marlowe, I don't know what sort of men you've been dealing with in the East, or what success you had with these methods.
Men are men, General. North, south, east, or west.
I appreciate your attempt to help, but I give you my word that if either of my grandsons agrees to conduct himself according to rules laid down by any girl, they won't have to kill each other. I'll do it for them.
Well, something has to be done.
Obviously, but let's not be ridiculous.
I intend to tell both of them exactly what I told you.
And let me make one thing clear. While striking a woman is frowned upon in these parts, it isn't exactly unheard of.
Good day, General.
Good day, Miss Marlowe.
meaning of this?
You'd better get out, Holly. Where are you going for your health when the general hears about this?
I demand an explanation.
Get out, Holly.
There's nothing to be alarmed about, Miss Marlowe.
You understand, of course, that I'm under the protection of the O'Haras.
Only too well.
Where are you taking me? I have to be at rehearsal.
I know, miss. Just relax. Nobody's going to hurt you.
I don't care about anybody hurting me. I have a symphony orchestra waiting for me.
They'll wait. Chop!
You're going to find that kidnapping me was the greatest mistake you've ever made.
I'm inclined to agree with you, ma'am.
Even if you do get some ransom for me, you won't live long enough to spend it. You're going to be hanged. You. Maybe you'd like to explain.
Won't you sit down, ma'am?
No, I will not sit down. And I won't put up with any more of this foolishness. As soon as the O'Haras find out I'm missing...
It's Grant O'Hara who wants to talk to you, ma'am.
Oh, he does he? Will you tell him to make an appointment?
Please don't try to leave, ma'am. I've got orders to keep you here. And Grant told us if any harm came to you, he'd shoot our ears off.
He did?
Yes, ma'am.
Are you going to let me out?
I'm sorry, ma'am. I've got my orders.
You're going to look awfully funny without ears.
Oh, don't do that. Oh, Miss Marlowe. Miss Marlowe, please. Miss Marlowe, no. You don't know what you're doing. You might as well shoot me yourself as do this. No, don't. Oh.
Now do I get out?
Either way, I'm dead.
I'll give you a 12-hour head start to get out of the country.
Now, listen, Grant.
6 hours.
But I didn't touch her.
3 hours. Should have shot him on the spot. I apologize, Miss Marlowe.
You're mighty high-handed, aren't you, Mr. O'Hara?
Wanted to talk to you alone.
In the East, we send notes asking if we can call.
If I'm ever back East, I'll remember it. Now sit down.
I will not.
Miss Marlowe, I'm about to propose to you. And it looks sort of silly with both of us standing up.
Well, I don't care how silly... What did you say?
I said I'm about to propose, and will you please sit down?
Why, yes, thank you. I suppose when you come right down to it, this is very romantic.
There's nothing romantic about it. It's the only way I could figure to get you alone for 5 minutes.
You were saying?
Miss Marlowe, I'm in love with you.
And?
And I'm asking you to marry me.
Well, this is a very serious step, Mr. O'Hara.
I'm well aware of that.
Won't you sit down?
Miss Marlowe, I suppose this does seem pretty sudden to you.
Oh, that's all right.
It is?
Yes.
Well.
Grant!
What do you want?
Lee's coming with a bunch of men.
Well, he couldn't have found me in a better mood. Are my boys ready?
I guess so.
Well, bring them all in here. We'll let Lee's boys come in if they're so anxious to see us.
Right.
Oh. You'd better stay down here, Miss Marlowe. It's liable to get awfully windy around here for the next few minutes.
All right, you know what to do. Spread the men out and don't start any shooting until I tell you to. Right. Fan out! Grant?
Yeah?
You better get the girl out of there.
You come and get her.
Use your head. There's no use killing her. I'll put her in a carriage and send her back to the ranch.
Then whichever one of us is left can join her?
Right.
Right.
Keep the door covered.
Grant says I'm the driver.
I hope they haven't hurt you any, miss.
No, they were very nice. Grant was especially charming.
Miss Marlowe. If Grant was being charming, it's lucky for you I got here when I did.
Hold it! Might hit the girl. Get the horses. We're going after him.
This is as good a place as any. Tell the men to get ready. Open the rock! Two.
Would you mind
We
telling
haven't time
me,
for questions, Miss Marlowe.
Mr. O'Hara, a long time ago I started out for a rehearsal.
Miss Marlowe, it's been in my mind ever since I first saw you to have a talk with you on certain matters. The way things are shaping up, I don't think it's wise to postpone it any longer.
I've never had to give a performance in my life without the proper rehearsal. This opportunity means a great deal to me, Mr. O'Hara.
I wonder if you know what matters I'm referring to, Miss Marlowe.
And this would be a perfect excuse for your grandfather to cancel my contract.
This is in the nature of a proposal, miss.
Look, we've already kept 30 musicians wait. Really?
I'm trying to keep my temper and tell you that I love you.
You don't have to lose your temper, Mr. O'Hara. You were saying?
I realize this isn't the most desirable place and that girls don't like to be rushed off their feet.
Well, I'll have to admit I am a little breathless.
Pay attention, Miss Marlowe. I was about to tell you that I'm very much in love with you.
You are?
Yes, I am.
Well,
did Grant do that?
no, I did it myself.
Now, that's gallant of you, miss, but he isn't worth it.
No, honestly, I did.
You just wait right here. We'll go into the matter of our marrying a little more fully as soon as I've taken care of a situation.
Well, what am I supposed to do in the meantime?
Just what I told you. Wait. Hold it. This looks like the showdown, Lee. It's about time.
Well, I won't say my cousin has lost all his honor because I suspect he never had any.
What's the play, Grant?
Going to get the girl back.
Lee! Grant! Tell your men men to put their guns away.
All right, boys, put them away. One of these days, the general isn't going to show up to save them.
Put them away. Good work, Ted. You saved a lot of lives today.
Thank you, sir. Yeah, good work. On your way out of town, don't bother to pick up anything.
But Lee, listen to me.
I said on your way out of town.
I trust you laid down the rules, ma'am.
If you'd be kind enough to get me to my rehearsal, General.
I'm afraid there won't be time for that now, miss.
Well, I'm afraid there'll have to be time.
You needn't worry. The orchestra I imported from San Francisco can play any opera you can sing.
Well, that's just it, General. My type of singing, while vastly more entertaining, may not be exactly what you'd call operatic.
What are you talking about?
Well, you see that agent you wrote to in New York? He's my cousin. You should have seen what he was going to send you for $10,000. A huge, fat old lady. Naturally, I was sure you'd be much more pleased with me.
You were, eh?
Of course. Would you take me to the opera house, please?
Better tell Colonel Logan we're going to need reinforcements.
Kinda jumpy, ain't you?
Not jumpy, just ready.
You didn't seem too ready to come and get us this afternoon.
We were on our way when them troops stopped us.
How do you think they came in time to save you?
There's a rumor going around that you sent for them.
Just a word to all of you. In order to bring a little culture to this town, I've spent $50,000 to build this opera house and $10,000 to bring a singer out here. I intend to hear a performance tonight, and if anyone interferes, blood relation or not, I intend to blow his fool head off. Start the music.
Frankie and Johnny were sweethearts. Yes, they were really in love. Swore to be true to each other, just as true as the stars above. He was her man, but he'd done her wrong. Frankie went walking one evening. She was out getting some air. Happened to look in a barroom, and she saw her Johnny there. He was her man, but he was doing her wrong. There he was sitting and drinking. The devil was winking his eye. And sitting across at the table was a gal named Nellie Bly. He was her man, but he was doing her wrong. She reached way down in her pocket, brought out a big 44, and as the gun went, he was her man. but he done her wrong. Frankie ran over to Johnny and started stroking his brow. Although she swore she loved him, he was no good to her now. He was her man, but he done her wrong. The sheriff came out and got Frankie and led her off to the jail. She's gonna make her home there till her cheeks are worn and pale. He was her man, but he done her wrong. All of you gals who have sweethearts, don't let them out of your sight. And all of you guys who like living, you better treat your women right. He was her man, but he done her wrong.
Applaud! Well, if you aren't two of the silliest looking things I've ever seen. Come here, Captain.
Yes, sir.
Any man who isn't off this street in 5 minutes, I want him arrested. You understand?
Yes, sir.
Now, Miss Marlowe, I'll take you home. Thank you, Sergeant. All right, Josh, to the ranch.
You heard what the general said.
Go on home, boys.
You too.
I want to talk to you a minute. Buy a drink.
Well, what are we waiting for?
This thing's never going to be settled properly as long as those interfering troops are around.
My sentiments.
You and Chief Yellowfeather are pretty good friends, aren't you?
Fair.
We'll send a man out tonight and have Yellowfeather kick up a rumpus somewhere. Then they'll have to pull the troops out.
I could have him shoot up a couple of towns. No need to kill anyone.
Can you do it tonight?
Nothing to stop me.
My men and I'll make a little call at the ranch to get the girls, say, around 12 noon tomorrow.
My men and I'll be there to do the same thing, about the same time.
Good.
Remember what I told you the first night? That girl is no opera singer, I said.
I thought you enjoyed my performance last night.
That's not the point. When you send for a big fat opera singer, that's what you expect to get. A big fat opera singer.
Do you think the boys liked me?
Who cares what the boys like? I built the opera house for myself, and I expected and paid for a big fat opera singer to sing there.
Sorry, General.
Oh, General.
What is it, Holly?
I've been down in town.
That's all right, Holly.
Both Lee and Grant are getting the men together.
What for?
They both say they're coming up here to get the girl.
Me? What do you mean they're coming to get me?
Well, that's what they say, ma'am.
Well, you can just go right back and tell them I'm not interested in another jouncing around like I had yesterday. However, if they'd like to sit down calmly, discuss a few things, that's another matter.
You sure you're not mistaken, Holly?
No, it's all over town, sir.
They wouldn't risk a run-in with government troops.
They'll find themselves under arrest if they do.
Colonel, get all your men up here and throw up some barricades.
I better send for another company.
Good. Holly, you go back to town and circulate the report that any man who fires on a trooper will be hanged for treason.
Don't you think you're being a little silly? Why don't you just send word to Grant and Lee that I want to see them?
I'll issue the orders at once, sir.
Good.
After all, the whole thing revolves around me. I think I should have a chance to talk to each of them alone. Anything can be settled if you just sit down and talk it over. Now, I'm willing to be reasonable about this, if they are.
Miss Marlowe, will you please shut up?
If you don't mind, General, this thing concerns me more than a little.
If you know what's good for you, you'll go to your room and stay there. You two better get going.
Colonel Logan, sir?
Yes, Corporal?
No.
What is it, Logan?
Yellowfeather's broken loose again. He raided Prairie Mound early this morning.
Prairie Mound can take care of itself.
You don't understand, sir. These are orders from General Bonds to take my troops and bring in Yellowfeather.
When?
Now.
Don't be ridiculous. You're not going off chasing Indians and leave the country at the mercy of my grandsons.
These are orders, sir.
The fool, the blunderer, the second-rate general. Well, I'm ordering you to disobey these orders, you understand?
I can't, sir. General Bonds doesn't like me anyway. He'd court-martial me in 10 seconds.
You mean to tell me that you're going to leave here now and take all your troops?
What else can I do? I'll get back as soon as I can, sir.
You needn't bother. In the first place, you won't be welcome. In the second place, there won't be anything left here to welcome you.
General O'Hara, you know I have to obey orders.
All right. Go chase your Indians.
Good luck, sir.
They're leaving, Hawley. They're really leaving.
I'm sorry, sir.
Excuse me, General. May I have that?
Miss Marlowe, I thought I told you to stay in your room.
I'm through taking orders. I'm going to stay here and tell those grandsons of yours exactly what I think of them.
We've got trouble enough, Miss Marlowe. If you so much as open your mouth, you're going to have to reckon with 3 O'Haras instead of 2. Now behave yourself. Hawley, you've always been my man. When this thing is finally settled, neither of the boys is going to appreciate that fact.
I know, sir.
I suggest you take a small trip to Albuquerque.
Much obliged, sir.
If you want to come back in 4 or 5 years, this whole thing may have blown over.
Well, what are you going to do, sir?
I'm going to stand right in the middle and shoot both ways.
So I got me a fast horse and headed for Albuquerque. And that's the way it was, mister.
Well, what happened then?
We don't know. There wasn't none of us around.
Well, surely you know what happened.
Sure, everybody knows that. But nobody knows why it happened just the way it did. Yeah, except the old lady.
You mean to say you're going to leave me sitting here wondering what...
We don't know, son. We was all run out of the country at the time.
Ask the old lady. She's the only one that knows anyway.
Thanks.
Ain't you going to buy another little drink?
When you won't finish... Bring them another bottle.
Well-mannered young fella, ain't he?
Well-heeled, too.
She'll be here shortly, sir. Mr. Nolan of the Historical Society called her and made the appointment for 3. It isn't quite that.
Thank you.
She's never late, sir.
Quit pushing. I'll knock your teeth in. Oh, you ain't big enough. Oh!
Mr. Andrews?
Yes.
I'm sorry I couldn't see you this morning. I had to fly over to Phoenix to pick up my grandsons. They're spending the weekend with me. Shall we go in now?
Aren't you going to stop them?
And break their spirit? Come on, son. So that's what they say. That I was sick, drunk, or money crazy. Well, son, they're all wrong. I was wearing a tight corset that day, and I just couldn't get my breath. Never have worn another one to this day.
What about the time the troops pulled out?
Well, that was something else again. I don't think I'd like to live that day over again. I remember the General and I were standing together, watching the men ride up.
General, For the first time in my life, I think I'm scared.
For the first time since you got here, you're showing a little sense. Now, please go inside.
I will not.
Miss Marlowe, you have a peculiar effect upon my grandsons. I don't want anything around to distract them.
Oh, well, in that case, all right.
Good morning, boys. What's on your minds?
I believe we both asked Miss Marlowe the same question yesterday.
And we'd like to have an answer.
Won't you come in?
We can't stay long.
Stay as long as you like. Leave your guns out here. Will you boys have a drink?
No.
I understand you both agreed to abide by Miss Marlowe's decision in this matter.
We didn't say that.
Then why did you ask her to make a choice?
We're just curious. It won't make any difference one way or the other.
I'd like to know what you mean by that.
Begging your pardon, Miss Marlowe, but I think you'd better stay out of this.
Oh, you do you?
Yes, we do.
Now, just a moment. I've been trying to figure a way out of this and still keep everybody alive.
I suppose the way I feel doesn't matter to anyone.
I'm inclined to agree with the boys. You better stay out of this.
Now, wait a minute. This happens to involve my entire future. You're just not going to raffle me off to the best shot at a turkey shoot.
She's right. You can't cut the cards for her and you can't shoot it out because you'll take half the country with you. You'll just have to abide by her decision.
Well, I should hope so.
We don't have to abide by any such thing.
If she picks him, she'll be a widow before she's married.
Nice sentiments.
This goes back a lot further than the girl. It's got to be settled sometime.
And now's as good a time as any.
Has anyone around here ever heard that women are considered human beings? That they have minds and hearts and... General, I have to talk to you.
You are talking to me, Miss Marlowe.
May I see you alone, please?
We don't want to drag this out, sir.
We won't be long. Well, it's finally come.
I think the whole thing is outrageous.
Is that all you called me in here to tell me?
General, suppose I went out there and told them I'd made a choice between them.
I'd be interested to know just how that's supposed to help the situation.
I'll pick the one I want to marry. You give the other one the whole territory if he'll leave us alone.
Do you mean that?
Of course I mean it.
It won't work. But I'm glad to hear you say it.
It'll have to work. General, let me talk to them.
Miss Marlowe, I've seen Grant shoot the legs off a fly at 100 feet. Remember that, just in case you have any ideas about Lee. If it's Grant, well, I've seen Lee shoot the fuzz off the fly's legs at the same distance.
What do you think we should do?
If I knew, I'd have done it. There isn't anything anybody can do.
I still want to talk to both of them.
It won't do any good.
It's worth trying, isn't it?
Sure. Anything's worth trying. She wants to talk to both of you.
I'd like to see you one at a time, if you don't mind. You first, Lee.
Is that her decision?
I don't know. Grant, suppose I make you a proposition. If she picks him, I'll give you the whole territory.
I'll get it anyway.
Sometimes you win and sometimes you lose.
Not me.
And if you want to invite any of your relatives, I'll arrange special trains to bring them in. We'll have the biggest wedding this country's ever seen.
But Lee...
Now, don't you worry about a thing. I'll make all the arrangements. For our honeymoon, we'll go to...
Lee, there's something I've got to tell you. You won't give me a chance.
Honey, when you called me in here, you told me everything I wanted to know.
Not everything. This isn't going to be very easy for me. But there mustn't be any secrets between us. You see, I...
Where did you get this ring?
That's what I'm trying to tell you about.
You needn't, Miss Marlowe. Yesterday at the ranch, Grant must have been mighty charming.
I hoped you'd understand.
I do, Miss Marlowe, perfectly. I'm no schoolboy. Now, if you'll excuse me.
All right, Grant. You're next.
They're both very good, aren't they?
Thought you were going to talk to them. Drop it, Lee. I mean it, Lee.
Grant, you're gonna marry that girl, or I'm gonna kill you. On your feet. The wedding's tonight, and you're gonna need quite a while to get ready.
What did you tell Lee?
I didn't tell him anything. I was straightening his shirt collar like this when all of a sudden he went tearing out of the room like a wild bull.
Where and how did you get that ring?
General, no gentleman should ever ask a lady that question. But if you must know, when we were all standing in the doorway a few minutes ago, I picked Grant's pocket.
What?
Well, somebody had to do something. Grandfather.
That night we were married. And from then on, I had the most perfect husband anyone could ask for. If he'd ever looked at another woman, Lee would have shot him dead on the spot. You see, Mr. Andrews, I fell in love with Grant. And it took some mighty tall figuring to give this story a happy ending. Come on, son. I'll buy you a drink before you go back to town.
No, you dirty little rat! I'd rather sock you than anything I know. My sentiments out!